Hi everybody, for those who don't know me, I'm Emma and I'm the artist behind Unsteady Art. So this bit at the side of me, I'm going to show you how basically this week's episode's kind of come to life. Or I should say this week's come to life. So I got a commission from David's work, so my husband's work, to do a pink marbly notebook, but it had to be bound completely, not wire bound, hard book. The reason being is she writes with her left hand. Now, everybody gets used to different things, and she's very into sort of the girly element, which unfortunately I'm not usually there at all. So I've had to play around with the designs of this. So first off, I made marble. Second off, I tried a few different letterings that I might do, nothing permanent. Then I figured a kind of loose way of doing a very delicate design for the corner of the pages and the background to be able to then bleed the pinks from the delicate design through to a blank page, so it wasn't as striking or odd. And then putting so that's basically what this is going to be. So let's watch. So this is where I ended up, but it's not going to be like this. So this is me trying to draw that's really skipped ahead. Let's try that again. Right, so this is kind of getting the sort of nitty-gritty that usually marble looks like, then to subtle the different colour changes back through. This is me playing around with some of the little delicate bits. Why is it blocking that off now? Bear with us. Right, bear with us. This is me just playing around with the lines. So when it comes to marble, there is a lot of nitty-gritty parts, pink things that's fused together. So you do these elegant lines that kind of go between it. Then you get the rough and the smooth textures before it is. So this is just me trying to get that scenario into a nice cohesive marble looking piece. So this is me bringing it all back in so I can get that nice colour throughout it. So now I'm playing around with designs. So whether or not that's the only thing that she wanted was notes, and if I wanted I could put something delicate, which of course I wanted to put my spin to it. So this is me kind of playing around with that. Now I went for live brushes for a lot of these. So these are the ones that will act like paint. So with the marble it bleeds, it melts away because it's watercolours. This part of the design was actually done in oil colours, which is usually a little bit thicker and a bit more clunky, but it means that it gives it a bit of depth. I was playing around with notes, which, by the way, I didn't use any of the ones that I did at all. I am no good with fonts, so I just moved it on to the Adobe suite before making the notes sign. Everything is printed out in Adobe. It's just like everything else, getting there. So this is me trying to blend in the delicate design with a bit of like a pink flourish and the marble effect, and then gradually taking it off to white. This is so the whole page didn't end up with pink all over. and 2, it also means that I don't get that really rustic part. So the paper I have already printed out. So, oh, wrong way. There we go. So that is that lovely part. Now the colours, I have to admit, is doing absolutely nothing. So maybe a bit further back might see. There you go. Bit of light to it. So, a little bit different. I'm going to have to test something different to get these right. One, if I split them in 2, is the thermal binding going to work now that I've tested it a few times? 2, if I add the frame meshing, will it support it a bit better? When I first did bookbinding, I did this one. Now these are all stitched in, so if I see if I can find one of the ones that I stitched in. Here we go. So if you can see very, very, very faintly, there is actually a stitched line there. It is very hard to see. There we go. Right, so I do apologise about the circle that keeps coming up. At the moment I've got this on my husband's old phone because my iPhone one broke. So I am now using the Google one to do these recordings. The issue that I've got is occasionally when there is something to focus on, it has a lovely circle. Or even worse, when it comes to me, I get a square. So when it comes to these, I'm trying to see if the thermal will work. But as always, I'm doing on a lot smaller scale first. So these are the blocks that I printed out, let's say incorrectly. I printed out more than what I should. The idea was I was going to use this for myself. I was going to wire bound it. Here it is. I'm going to see if using the sticker paper will adhere these together but also not break where this bit is. So this were great because it was fabric. I didn't need to think about it at all. That bends, but that was cardboard. So these are what the class of the cover sheets, where it's glued slightly to the page. That's why it's a bit more bended than the other. So that is what today's test is. But I've got to test this first. So I've got the thermal printer, I've got this, I've got a big wad of the thermal glue, parchment paper, because it doesn't stick to stick, so I at least can pull it away. I've then got this huge great big thing with all of the stuff that I've used for bookbinding. So if this fails, I'm going to stitch it together with I'll show you this. So this is white thread, but it's been adhered with a wax. Right, so I've cut down the thermal strip to size. So the idea is this should just fit the block of paper. So I am going to put elastic band around this. One, it's small enough to do this, but it just keeps everything in place a little bit. And with this being a tester, I don't need to worry about it either. Take the sticky tape off to adhere to that. It was the reason why I didn't like doing that one for what's the word, for the notepads. If I can find them where they were just clear, I think I might be able to cope as long as they stay. So let's take that bit off. I want the mold to go around it. And then that to go round there. Set to 120 seconds, 210. Right, so all I did there was just break down a little bit, just so it's, what's the word? Just to sort of skim over the top, just to make sure that it's fully got in. Tapped it down so I knew that it was centralised, and then put it onto the start. So fingers crossed that should work. I haven't taken much off them, but I really did like how it's turned out. It's a little bit raw on that edge, and it has cut into some. So at some point I've kind of cut into it a little bit too much, but it's an idea for later on. Luckily this is a tester, so I can do what I want with it. Flashy! But it's smooth, it runs, and it's square. So now we can actually do the measurements for the cover. So these do not match at all, and I purposely did that because I don't want to waste. So they are generally ideal for that. It would have been better with the back, but I do need to get the measurement of that part. Well, I'm gonna have to apologise to you now because I've done the book and didn't actually record any of them. So did it go successfully? Not quite. So what ended up happening is the gap between there and there were just way too much. I'll see if I can get some of the footage from the other camera. So that went a bit haywire. So I do need to measure it out properly, but to say that this were a test, it's fine. So I can really kind of trying to get the pages out, and as much as you can see the gap, it's not coming out. Hello again everyone. So today is, well, 2 days actually after I did the test. So the test came out better than what I thought, but I have to admit there is still some issues. So if I get the camera, so this was the front cover. Now obviously this wasn't a normal back sheet. So usually a back sheet, I use this for example, but this is something that went a bit weird. So it's just meant to be folded. So when you open it up, there is no crease down it where there's a weak point. So there's that bit, and then halfway through there's also, let me see if I can get it a bit so you can see, it's come away from the glue. Now I have to admit I did rag that quite a bit just to test it, but I have to admit on looking at some research, a lot are still stitched, even the really cheap ones. So that is what I'm going to do. I've also decided as well, on this one definitely, on future ones I might try it again, where once it's bound stitch wise to whether or not I want to use the thermal binder, to see if I can actually get it to work on the bigger items. So for example, with my old one that I did, this was how I'm going to do this one. So it is glued into place by me, which if you really look, there we go. So that bit there is still gaps, but it's solid. One, because I've used mull to be able to bind it. Two, because I've made sure that it goes in. The stitching helps a lot. So I'm going to do traditional for this particular one. This big wad of paper needs to be folded. Now this bit is a guide, so you can actually shove it against, so when you fold it, hopefully it should be a perfect one. So I am extremely limited on where I can show you where it's zoomed in, so just bear with us on that one. So the idea with these is to book it right up against the edge. You've also got another edge there, so it does not move. So the idea is fold it over, put it against both, is going down the edge, and that will make it as flat as it can go. Now to do this another 25 times. Welcome back. So I've got everything folded up, so these are the end papers as well as all of the pages. Now I'm going to squish these down even more, and how we do that is with the clamp. So before we stitch it, before we do anything else, it needs to be as flat as we can get it. So it doesn't have as much bulk when we are putting the cover on. That's pretty much it. Untie these. There we go. Right, so let me get these away. Right, so one on one side, one on the other. And as long as they're all opening the same way, we are fine. So the idea is we stitch in, I'm going to call them chapter, I can't remember their exact name. So we group 5 together. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So all the 5. I think you are meant to kind of fold these at the same as well, but it is what it is. So all of the pages being sectioned off into groups of 5. This is thread that has been treated with wax, so it doesn't hurt the pages as much. I've got a very sharp book tool, and that's just to punch the holes through. Curved scissors, as much as they are annoying at first, they are easy to hook around, because I'm going to be doing what the class is a French stitch. Mull for later on. This is just to bind it together, and I will be adding PVA to this as well. Scissors, obviously, to cut the thread. And then there's this. So this is the guide that I use. So originally it was this one that I used to do the old book. But what I've seen looking at it this time, a lot of people now have the hook on there, and it's just so you can literally hook it on to the edge, so you know it's going to be as straight as what you can get it. So we'll now retire that one, and I'll show you how to do this bit. So some stitch the end books, the end pages in, some don't, some just glue it. I'm going to stitch them this time round. I didn't with the last one, and it did absolutely fine. So this is the end page, and then that's the one that you glue together. So if you can see, it kind of doesn't go as far, where if you stitch it in, it will. The only difference is you'd end up with one page where it's got the marble effect, rather than like this where you turn the pages and it's full on. I might double-sided sticky tape after I've sewn it in. I might not, it just depends on how I feel with it. So let's get on with it. I'm just going to grab the top of this, because I'm just going to make sure that that's in the top corner. If I do it the same way on each, it means that it's more likely going to follow suit. Doesn't matter when it comes to this which way I do it, as long as I do it so it's open and shut. So what I'm going to do is bring it down and then put a needle into all of those sections. So I'm going to see if I can angle it so you guys can see, but it is going to end up going into the wrong area, so I do have to be careful a bit. So I'm going to do it at roughly the same angle. Right, I have to just teeter it off the edge a little bit. The only thing with small things, I struggle. So that's one, and I'm purposely going to put them the same way. So all of them are now done. So now it's just to cut the thread. So I use a guide, and I used it last time, Bitter Melon Binding. I will link it below. So one length plus the same length for how many you've got. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 because I've got the end boards as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. Right, there we go. So it did come with a really good idea of how to thread it through. So you're literally just going to go through the centre of the string and then pull through. So like that. Pull around. There we go. So through the bottom and leave about 5 centimetre gap. Out through the next. Just be careful not to do that bit. And then in and out all the way down. Tighten up. So let's bring another one across into the next one. Out the other side. Right, so we need to line them up, and then we need to link up through the next one. Like that. Back into the next. Oh. There we go. In. Link through again. And then out. So we're going to tie these up. Just make sure they're level. Through. Right, so what we need to do this time round, and this happens on all of the ends now, is on the previous level, I have no idea if you're going to see this, hook between the last one. And then I'll just do it on my own while I'm playing. So we've now got it all in the binder. So that is what it's looking like now. So the only thing left to do is to glue it in place. So I am using quite a big brush for this one, but it doesn't need to be pretty. The only thing it needs to do is just make sure that it gets in between all of the bits. Forget to cut those down though. Go. So I need to get in between of all the layers if I can get to them, as well as much around the string as I can get. Hi everyone, so it's really late on Thursday. I've had a really odd week, but by the by, I forgot to record the outro and the last bit of the footage actually went wrong as well. So I'm going to show you what's happened and then I'll do the slight little bit of the midway. So this is how the block is looking now. So they've all been cut down, so it is lovely flat lines, which is really nice to open. I've also got the mull on, and then these are end bands and end band and tail band, I think the classed as. Now, doing those, they were a bit harder than what I thought. So me, I tried gluing them and then they didn't work at all. So it's the twill material that I do for my embroidered bookmarks. So what I ended up doing to adhere them, because other than giving a bit more structure and you're not seeing the stitching from the ends, is just to give that bit of a coating. So all I've done is double-sided sticky tape in several places and then wedged some of this kind of like twine in it. That's then cut down to size just to fit over the edge of the pages and just before the first lot of stitching. And basically that is the book block. So to see what happens to the remaining, you will have to tune in to for next week's, where I'm kind of hoping to get back onto this. And yeah, so this is it for this episode. So please, if you did like this, please like, subscribe, comment. Love to hear what you're thinking and where you're going. And other than that, I will see you in a few short days. But you won't see me till next week. So see you later. Bye.